Still, good morning again. As you know, the Indo-Pacific region is the fastest growing region in the world, accounting for more than 60% of global growth. The USA, UK, Japan, and Australia are key players in the Indo-Pacific and have a stake in its future success. The USA has been involved in Asia since 1945 and is still a major player today. They are one of the largest trading partners with India and Japan. The US also has a strong economic ties with many of the Bay of Bengal countries and has military bases in Japan, South Korea, and many other countries. The United Kingdom is also a major player in this region because it is an important trading partner for many of these countries. It is also has military bases in Singapore and Brunei and other smaller military bases worldwide. Japan's trade with ASEAN countries has been increasing steadily over the past decade. Japan also has a strong influence on Asian economies. And Australia is an important partner for regional security and stability through its involvement in regional institutions such as AUKUS and Quad. Each nation has its own perception of the Indo-Pacific, and today we hope to take a glimpse into the geopolitical perspective of each of these nations. The official paper from Washington said, Indo-Pacific strategy of the United States stated that the USA would focus on every corner of the region, from Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia to South Asia and Oceania, including the Pacific Islands. It was also stated that the USA recognized the Indo-Pacific as the world's center of gravity. The United States stated that it would pursue 5 objectives in the Indo-Pacific: advance a free and open Indo-Pacific, build connections within and beyond the region, drive regional prosperity, foster Indo-Pacific security, build regional resilience to transitional threats. To set the overall agenda of the plenary session, I'd like to invite the US Ambassador to Bangladesh, His Excellency Peter D. Haas, to elaborate a bit more on how the US perceives the ongoing developments in South Asia. Mr. Peter D. Haas.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you to CGS and to you, Zillur, for creating this opportunity for us to have this conversation, and also to you, Zillur, for all of the opportunities that you create for conversations and open discussions here in Bangladesh. It's very much appreciated. We stand here today at a decisive decade, not just for the Bay of Bengal, but for the broader Indo-Pacific region and the world. The window of opportunity to deal with shared threats is closing fast. Will we end this decade knowing we have put our planet on a path to healing? Will we build more resilient healthcare systems and pandemic response mechanisms? Will we uphold and honor the fundamental principles of the UN Charter, including sovereignty and territorial integrity? Will we be able to ensure food security? The actions we take now, together as a global community, will shape whether this period is known as an age of conflict and discord, or as the beginning of a more stable and prosperous future. Whatever we decide, much of that future will be written right here in the Indo-Pacific. Stretching from the Pacific coastline of the United States to the Indian Ocean, the Indo-Pacific is the most dynamic region of the world. It is home to more than half of the world's people and nearly 2/3 of the world's economy. What happens here affects the entire world. Today, I'd like to share the United States vision for the region and describe two challenges we see to achieving that vision. The first is the rising competition from autocracies, and the second is looming transnational threats like climate change. Our vision is a broadly shared vision. The Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina described Bangladesh's vision for the region at the 2021 Paris Peace Forum. She said, and I quote, "The Indo-Pacific region must be an area of peace and prosperity for all. Our vision," meaning Bangladesh's vision, "for the region is to have a free, open, peaceful, secure, and inclusive region." The United States wholeheartedly agrees with that vision. We seek to work with Bangladesh and other partners to build an Indo-Pacific that has 5 key elements. We want a region that is free and open, interconnected, prosperous, secure, and resilient. And we share this vision with many other nations. All of us may call it something slightly different, whether it's a strategy, a vision, a tilt, or an outlook, but there is incredible overlap in the vision we share. And that is part of our collective strength, finding areas where our visions overlap and partnering to move these goals forward together. I want to say this at the beginning. Our strategy is not about forcing countries to take sides. It's about ensuring that the region is free and open so that individual countries can freely make their own choices. So let me take each of the 5 key elements in the United States strategy and vision in turn. First, we seek to advance a free and open Indo-Pacific, where goods and ideas and people flow freely across land, cyberspace, and the open seas with governance that's transparent and responsive to the people. Bangladesh has made a number of important contributions to this cause. For instance, by committing to the peaceful resolution of its land and maritime border disputes, Bangladesh has made the Bay of Bengal an example for the world to follow. Regarding transparent and responsive governance, the United States will continue to support human rights and stand in solidarity with those who seek freedom and dignity, just as we continue the critical work ensuring equity and equal treatment under law in our own home. We will work to strengthen democracy, both at home and around the world, and we will not be shy about championing human rights. We do this because democratic governance not only consistently outperforms authoritarianism in protecting human dignity, but it also leads to more prosperous and resilient countries. The second element is the United States will continue to forge stronger connections within and beyond the region. We must work together as a regional community to tackle our shared challenges. This means strengthening old partnerships and forging new ones. I'm proud to share this stage today with close friends and partners from Australia, Japan, and the United Kingdom. We each have our own slightly different perspectives on the region. We each have our own different strengths, and we each have our own national interests. But I believe we have, all of us, a shared vision for the future and a firm belief that we must work together and with other nations to achieve that vision. And in this regard, I would like to congratulate Bangladesh for chairing the Indian Ocean Rim Association meeting later this week. Third, the United States will promote broad-based prosperity so that no one gets left behind in the 21st century. The United States and 13 partner countries launched negotiations for the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF, a novel economic arrangement that reflects our collective desire to address 21st century challenges that go beyond trade and investment. The membership of IPEF reflects the economic diversity of the region, as well as the interconnectivity among partner countries that drives economic growth, job creation, and innovation. As President Biden said at the launch, IPEF is intended to be open and inclusive to others, who wish to join in the future if they share the goals of IPEF and work to achieve those goals. We will continue to work on these issues and grow our economic partnership bilaterally with all nations, including Bangladesh. Fourth, the United States will bolster Indo-Pacific security. For 75 years, the United States has maintained a strong and consistent defense presence in the region and will continue to contribute to the region's stability and peace. We will seek closer security cooperation with partners to tackle challenges from violent extremism to illegal fishing and human trafficking. The United States is proud to partner with Bangladesh on these challenges and more. For instance, we co-hosted the Indo-Pacific Army's Management Seminar in September, which brought together 24 nations right here in Dhaka to share ideas, build relationships, and very importantly, to speak frankly about security challenges. A big security challenge to the region's stability is the brutal military coup in Burma and the genocide against the Rohingya. The atrocities and violence Burma's military regime continues to inflict upon its own people show no sign of ending. And yet, some countries continue to supply lethal assistance to Burma's military regime, enabling its violence and repression. For this reason, on November 8th, the US Department of Treasury imposed sanctions on a key supplier of military aircraft parts to Burma's military. We urge all countries to immediately stop the sale or transfer of arms, military equipment, dual-use equipment, and technical assistance to Burma. And the United States will continue to work with allies and partners to hold Burma accountable through sanctions and international pressure. The fifth element of the US strategy for this important region is to help build regional resilience to transnational threats. The United States will work to enhance partners' resilience to transnational challenges. These challenges include climate and biological threats. As we all know, the Indo-Pacific is the epicenter of the climate crisis, and this region is essential to climate solutions. Our shared responses to the climate crisis are not only a political imperative, but also an economic opportunity. Through the U.S. Agency for International Development, we have offered our response with climate change and environmental protection assistance. This support promotes biodiversity and ecosystem conservation and strengthens environmental governance and management in two key biodiverse areas of Bangladesh: the Sundarbans Reserve Forest, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the southwest, and the ecologically critical forests and wetlands in the southeast and northeast. Our assistance over the past 20 years has helped Bangladesh protect its natural resources and biodiversity by bringing together local communities and the government to co-manage more than 1 million hectares of land. As a result, Bangladesh's climate resilience has grown stronger. We welcome other opportunities to develop partnerships to implement climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies to achieve the commitments under the Paris Agreement on Climate Change for Bangladesh and the broader Bay of Bengal region. We are also partnering with the region to build resilience to pandemic disease and to strengthen its health systems. I recently traveled to Narayanganj to celebrate the milestone of the United States providing the 100 millionth vaccine to Bangladesh. This milestone underscores the strong partnership between our two countries and is just one part of the incredible progress Bangladesh has made in fully vaccinating 75% of its entire population. But our vision for an open, interconnected, prosperous, secure, and resilient Indo-Pacific is under threat. We face two broad challenges. The most pressing strategic challenge facing our vision is from authoritarian powers trying to alter the fundamental rules of the road in international affairs. For example, a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council invaded its neighbor, attempting to erase a sovereign state from the map. Russia's brutal war against Ukraine has had far-reaching consequences, many of which are being felt here in Bangladesh. We will continue to work with allies and partners to combat the strain this has placed on the global economy, on food security, and on energy markets. The solution to this crisis is simple. If Putin stops fighting, the turmoil ends. If Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine ends. Let me also speak frankly about the PRC. Last week, President Biden made it clear to President Xi Jinping that the United States is not looking for conflict, but to manage competition responsibly. They discussed a range of issues. President Biden has asked Secretary of State Blinken to travel to the PRC to follow up on those discussions and to keep lines of communication open. The PRC is the only country with both the intent to reshape the international order and increasingly the economic, diplomatic, military, and technological power to do so. The PRC is also integral to the global economy and to our ability to solve challenges from climate to COVID-19. Simply put, the United States and China must deal with each other for the foreseeable future. Let me be direct about the competition between the United States and the PRC by quoting President Biden's address to the UN General Assembly in September. As we manage shifting geopolitical trends, the United States will conduct itself as a reasonable leader. We do not seek conflict. We do not seek a Cold War. We do not ask any nation to choose between the United States or any other partner. But the United States will be unabashed in promoting our vision of a free, open, secure, and prosperous world, and that what we have to offer the community of nations is the following: investments that are designed not to foster dependency, but to alleviate burdens and help nations become self-sufficient, and partnerships not to create political obligation, but because we know our own success, each of our success, is increased when other nations succeed as well. So U.S. diplomacy is based on partnership and respect for each other's interests. We don't expect every country to have the exact same assessment of the PRC as we do. We know that many countries, including the United States, have vital economic or people-to-people ties with the PRC that they want to preserve. Let me be clear again. This is not about forcing countries to choose. It's about giving them a choice. The second challenge to this vision is that while this competition is underway, people all over the world are struggling to cope with the effects of shared problems that cross borders, whether it's climate change, food insecurity, communicable diseases, or inflation. These shared challenges are not secondary to geopolitics. They are at the very core of national and international security and must be treated as such. By their very nature, these challenges require governments to cooperate if they are to solve them. To take on the larger challenge of food insecurity, the United States introduced a call to action, a roadmap to eliminating global food insecurity that more than 100 member states have already supported. And through USAID's Feed the Future initiative across the world and right here in Bangladesh, the United States is scaling up innovative ways to get drought and heat-resistant seeds into the hands of farmers who need them. Farmers are receiving fertilizer and improving fertilizer efficiency so that they can grow more food while using less fertilizer. The United States is also committed to meeting its global responsibility to tackle climate change by working to deliver funding to the International Climate Finance to help lower-income countries implement their climate goals and ensure a just energy transition. A key part of this effort is the President's Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, also known as the PREPARE Plan. Launched by President Biden at COP27, this whole-of-government initiative will help 500 million people, especially in vulnerable countries, adapt to the impacts of climate change and build resilience. The United States is willing to work with every nation, including our competitors, to address global, transnational problems like climate change. So, in closing, we cannot afford to ignore any of these challenges. In President Biden's address to the General Assembly, he laid out the common ground we share and his vision for cooperation with all nations. He said, to stand against global politics of fear and coercion, to defend the sovereign rights of smaller nations as equal to those of larger ones, to embrace basic principles like freedom of navigation, respect for international law, and arms control. And no matter what else we might disagree on, that is the common ground upon which we must stand. We stand today in the early years of a decisive decade. Let us work together to strengthen the foundations of peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific and around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. The USA, Japan, India, and Australia also form the Quad, the most prominent military association in the region. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was a firm believer in the Quad's power to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific and persuaded the US of the value of this coalition approach across the Indo-Pacific. The Quad leaders released a joint statement on March 12, 2021, titled The Spirit of the Quad, stating that they would strive for a free, open, inclusive, healthy region anchored by democratic values and unconstrained by coercion. To speak more about Japan's current perception of the development in South Asia, I would like to invite the Ambassador of Japan to Bangladesh, His Excellency Ito Naoki, to say a few words. Mr. Ito Naoki. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jill, for your kind introduction about Japan's policy vis-à-vis Indo-Pacific. So, distinguished guests, excellencies, I'm so pleased to speak before you, such a learned audience today. I'm particularly happy that we are sharing among four ambassadors and high commissioners sharing this platform or stage together. It's really wonderful opportunity to present respective views on Indo-Pacific, but I understand that collectively or jointly we are presenting the importance of Indo-Pacific as a sort of idea, vision for the prosperity, peace, stability, development of entire region, including, of course, Bay of Bengal and this part of the world. I have been in this country just over 3 years. On March last year, I had the opportunity to attend the twin celebration of the country, Bangladesh, 50 years of independence, as well as the birth centenary of Bangabandhu. Really marvelous occasion to see the development of the nation. But against the economic development, as well as stability, the country achieved over many years. So we are able to witness the fact that the stature of Bangladesh in the region was enhanced. For the 10 days of twin celebration, Dhaka was the center of regional diplomacy. It was Bangladesh which endeavored to promote the enhancement of regional connectivity, promote the free trade in the region, as well as to extend cooperation to the economic situation, sound macroeconomic management of other countries in the region. Japan would like to support such role played by Bangladesh in the region. Japan would like to extend cooperation for Bangladesh to play even larger role in the region. So to me, what Bangladesh wanted to achieve during those twin celebration was the very similar thing that Japan would like to promote peace, stability, and development through free, open Indo-Pacific. That is the vision Japan has been promoting, as Zillur Rahman already explained. If I may talk a bit about Japan's free, open Indo-Pacific, we have 3 pillars regarding this vision, free, open Indo-Pacific. First pillar is to share values: democracy, freedom of navigation, rule-based international order. And second pillar is to pursue economic prosperity. And the third pillar is to maintain peace and stability in the entire region of Indo-Pacific. So as I said, free, open Indo-Pacific is a vision to realize peace, stability, and prosperity among all the nations in the Indo-Pacific. In order to pursue free, open Indo-Pacific, Japan has been and will be providing practical cooperation. Practical cooperation in wider areas of relevance to realize this vision. So practical cooperation should include quality infrastructure, regional connectivity, disaster management, climate change mitigation and adaptation, counter terrorism, and others. We do capacity building of Coast Guard officers as well as law enforcement officers. So we provide very wide-ranging cooperation to Bangladesh with the idea of promoting practical cooperation to pursue free, open Indo-Pacific. Yes, we do this Mata Valley deep sea port development. That's a typical example of our practical cooperation under free, open Indo-Pacific. We do this Big B initiative, Bay of Bengal Industrial Growth Corridor building. And we do Dhaka Metro, we do airport terminal. All of these are part of the practical cooperation we do. And I also want to mention that Rohingya is a very important part of this FOIP. We should not allow Rohingya population to be destabilized. We will continue to cooperate with the government and international community as well as UN agencies. FOIP doesn't target any country. FOIP doesn't intend to contain any single country. FOIP is inclusive. We regard FOIP, free, open Indo-Pacific, as global commons for prosperity of the entire region. We are all guardians of the global commons. The late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe often talked about free, open Indo-Pacific as global commons for all of us in the region. And at the same time, any cooperation needs to be complying with international norm, international rules. Even development financing needs to be abiding by international rules. Those projects need to be transparent, viable. Those projects should not be fancy, but should meet real requirement, the real needs of the country. At the same time, I really would like to underscore the fact that if any country tries to change the status quo by force or by coercion, then we raise the concern. Even when Prime Minister Kishida met with Mr. Xi Jinping back on 17th of November in Bangkok, Prime Minister shared the concern on military activities by China, Indo-China Sea, as well as those launching ballistic missile to EEZ of Japan and adjacent sea. So if there's any attempt to change status quo by force or coercion, we raise a concern. We oppose to such attempt. Next week, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is visiting Japan. this is going to be another epoch-making visit by Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. We will seek to possible elevation of our partnership from comprehensive one to strategic one. But our hope is that the two prime ministers will talk about common vision of free and open Indo-Pacific. Back in 1973, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman talked about Indian Ocean region. If I may quote what he said in his interview at the Japan Press Club in Tokyo, he said, I quote, "We want Southeast Asia as a peaceful region. We have declared that Indian Ocean region must be a free and peaceful region." There, Bangabandhu already talked about free and peaceful region, free and peaceful Indian Ocean. It doesn't matter how many adjectives we have, but it's very important to talk about common vision of free, open Indo-Pacific for the prosperity, stability, and peace of the entire region. We need to abide by international law. We need to abide by and respect rule-based international order. On that basis, I'm sure that our Prime Minister is going to launch a series of new initiatives for the development of Bangladesh. Japan will continue to stand by Bangladesh in its development journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Naoki. In a similar vein, the United Kingdom announced its comprehensive vision for its post-Brexit involvement with the world on March 16, 2021, titled Global Britain in a Competitive Age, the Integrated Review of Security, Defense, Development, and Foreign Policy. The so-called tilt toward the Indo-Pacific was one of its most notable features. In the integrated review, the Indo-Pacific is framed as a critical region where the competitive age is playing out, requiring active United Kingdom involvement to shape international order and support open societies. The UK ambitiously declared that it would be the European partner with the broadest and most integrated presence in the Indo-Pacific. To speak more on the UK's initiative in the South Asia region, I'd like to invite the High Commissioner of the United Kingdom, His Excellency Robert Chatterton Dickson, to say a few words. Robert, microphone is yours.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, Zillur, for the invitation, and congratulations to the Centre for Government Studies, which I think creates a remarkable forum for candid conversations here in Dhaka, which is very welcome. And it's great that you've assembled such a distinguished audience today. I'm obviously speaking as British High Commissioner from a slightly different perspective in that the UK is not directly a regional power here in South and Southeast Asia. But we are a country which has very close historic ties to this region and very close current connections through trade, economic links, security links, and a very strong diaspora from right across the region who make a remarkable contribution to life in the UK. So we are a country that has very strong interests in this region. And in pursuing those interests, I think we very much share the visions that are put forward by our friends and colleagues in the region, and particularly those who are members of the Quad. So we support the US vision for their Indo-Pacific strategy, and we support the Japanese vision because we see these as highly compatible, not only with each other, but also highly compatible with our own interests. But as Zillur mentioned, we are increasing the degree to which we are looking to re-engage with this region. Last year, we looked at how our foreign policies should be shaped globally following our historic decision to exit from the European Union. And that brought us to the integrated review, and the integrated review brought us to what we describe as an Indo-Pacific tilt. So it's a very conscious decision to reinvest, re-engage in this part of the world, because this region, as others have mentioned, and I strongly agree, is vital to global growth and economic dynamism. And that very much includes the Bay of Bengal, as well as the wider Indo-Pacific region. And for us, it very much reflects the extraordinary progress that Bangladesh has made over the last 50 years of its independence. We were strong supporters right at the start of Bangladeshi independence in 1971 through the diaspora, through the very strong public support represented in demonstrations in Trafalgar Square and extraordinary public support, and also in Bangabandhu's historic decision when he was released from captivity in Pakistan at the beginning of 1972 to go to London as the first place that he engaged with internationally as a free man. He met our Prime Minister, Edward Heath. He gave his first press conference in Claridge's Hotel, and he then flew back with the Royal Air Force to take up the leadership of a newly independent Bangladesh. So we've had a very strong relationship with independent Bangladesh right from the start. And now what we're seeing is a relationship that in economic terms is evolving. We've been very strong partners through development over those 50 years, but we're now increasingly seeing an economic and trade relationship which builds on broader foundations. We're Bangladesh's third largest market, mainly for ready-made garments, but increasingly for other things as well. And we are reinforcing the relationship here in Bangladesh through a range of new instruments, which include the British Investment International, formerly the Commonwealth Development Corporation, but now with a broader remit, with an increased capital commitment by UK Export Finance, and with a new tool, UK Centres of Excellence, UK Centres of Expertise, which is designed to enable our economic, environmental, social expertise to be deployed more actively into countries where these things can be put to good use in the shared journey towards growth. So we have a deeper and a more varied and a more trade-focused economic relationship, which I'm sure will prosper as Bangladesh continues to grow through these turbulent times. But I think a key point that others have already made in other ways is that for Bangladesh to continue to grow, for any country to continue to grow reliably, the rules-based international system is absolutely critical. Bangladesh, as a major exporter into world markets, depends on the rules and norms that underpin global trade. And I think it's the wider way in which rules and norms have been challenged by Russia in the brutal, unprovoked aggression against Ukraine that makes this such a turbulent time for all of us. And we all, including Bangladesh, including my colleagues on the stage with me, all have an interest in demonstrating to the world that the UN Charter, that the rules-based international system remain key to our shared prosperity. And we very much welcome Bangladesh's decision to support some of the recent UN General Assembly resolutions, which aim to uphold both the territorial integrity of Ukraine, but also the underlying principles of the UN Charter. And I just build slightly further on that point about rules and norms by saying that I think the key for Bangladesh to continue to grow in the next decade and beyond will be through institutional quality, the institutional quality that makes this country one in which international investors want to come here to pursue the scale and growth that Bangladesh can offer. But quality institutions are key to making investors confident that they can put their money to work here reliably. And I think a point I've made before, that a key to institutional quality in a democratic system are fair and transparent elections. So I very much hope that over the next year or two in Bangladesh, that is what we will see, because I think it is very much in the country's interest that fair and democratic elections underpin the institutional quality which will be vital to continued economic growth. But we're working together with Bangladesh in other areas as well. Climate change is obviously a problem for all of us. We've seen here in Bangladesh, we've seen in Pakistan, we've seen in the UK, the very direct evidence of the impact of the climate crisis that now confronts us all. And we are working very closely with the government. We worked very closely with the Honourable Prime Minister at COP26 in Glasgow, and we welcome the signs of progress now emerging from COP27 towards a more equitable financial deal. And in particular, we hope that will enable Bangladesh to become a better environment for investing green finance, to do the things that are necessary to build both mitigation and adaptation here in Bangladesh. So to conclude, there is a vision for Indo-Pacific and Bay of Bengal, which I think has been set out very ably by countries directly positioned in this region, but we strongly support as a country with strong interests here, but strong interests as a country that is situated elsewhere. And those interests are around an open, secure and stable region, around shared prosperity and economic growth, and around an international system based on norms and values which recognizes Bangladesh's contribution, but will enable Bangladesh to continue to thrive and prosper in these turbulent times. And it's a journey that I'm very pleased and proud as British High Commissioner to be leading our inputs to here in Dhaka. So thank you very much for your attention this morning. I look forward to hearing from the audience about how they respond to the visions that we, as Quad members and their friends, are putting forward from the stage. Thank you very much. Onek Donabad.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. Australia now finds itself in two powerful and interesting minilateral security arrangements in the form of the Quad and AUKUS. How does Australia perceive its current role in maintaining peace and security in the Indo-Pacific? And what is the long-term plan behind Australia's increasing assertiveness in the Pacific region? To speak more on Australia's Indo-Pacific geopolitical approach, I would like to invite the Australian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Mr. Jeremy Bruer, to say a few words. Jeremy Bruer.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Good afternoon. And thank you very much, Zillur, for your invitation to speak this afternoon at this event. And congratulations once again on assembling such a large and distinguished group. Can I thank my predecessors for the excellent comments that they've made too, and the valuable contributions they've made to this discussion. Bay of Bengal Conversation is really an excellent opportunity for countries in the Indo-Pacific and their partners to discuss the increasing strategic importance of the Bay of Bengal within our region. It's also an opportunity for countries to discuss the importance of cooperating to address shared challenges in the region and beyond. And of course, as we've heard, there are plenty of those challenges where there's no shortage of them. Climate change, economic recovery from COVID-19, environmental and maritime security, and promoting an international rules-based order are very prominent among them. As the title of this panel events suggests, there is increasing interest in the roles of multilateral, regional and minilateral initiatives in the Indo-Pacific region. At their core, these initiatives exist to promote cooperation among states to address these shared challenges that we face. As an example, an important platform for regional cooperation is being highlighted this very week, in fact, as we speak, in Dhaka, through the ministerial and senior officials meetings of IORA, the Indian Ocean Regional Association. Australia is a proud member of IORA, and we strongly support and congratulate Bangladesh on its role as chair. We welcome also the ongoing and important roles played by, among others, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Japan as dialogue partners to IORA. And we hope that that meeting produces strong outcomes that improve the opportunities for regional cooperation. I'd like to pitch my comments today through the frame of Australia as an engaged international participant. We understand very clearly the need to work with others around the world to support our own security and economic strength, and to shape our world and our region for the better. We, as a middle power, depend on international trade, and we strongly support the multilateral system. We are part of the Indo-Pacific region. We have the Pacific region to our east and the Indian Ocean to our west. Forgive me, those of you who've heard me say this before, but I like to say that Australia wakes up in the morning to see the sun rising over the Pacific Ocean, and we go to bed at night watching the sun set over the Indian Ocean. The Indo-Pacific is where we live. We see the world through an Indo-Pacific lens. Everything and everyone that comes to and from Australia travels over or through the Indian and or the Pacific Oceans. So it's natural that our interests and concerns and priorities lie in our own region. That's why we support a free and open and inclusive and resilient Indo-Pacific region that is respectful of the rules and norms that serve the interests of all nations, large and small. and where all countries have a voice. We want to work with our partners, such as Bangladesh, bilaterally and through a wide variety of regional forums, including IORA, including APEC, ASEAN, the Pacific Islands Forum, and yes, groupings such as the Quad, to help ensure that the Indo-Pacific remains inclusive, remains peaceful, remains prosperous, and remains secure. And we want to promote an Indo-Pacific where sovereignty and international law are respected. We see the collection of multilateral bodies and forums in the region as being mutually complementary and supportive of our goals for the Indo-Pacific. The variety of issues that they focus on reflects the divergences, the divergent challenges in the region. Their existence promotes an inclusive regional order in which all countries can have a say and take decisions and act in their own interests. From Australians' point of view, the multilateral bodies in the Indo-Pacific are a positive and much needed channel for cooperation and engagement among states. Our region, like the rest of the world, is being reshaped economically and strategically. The geopolitical context in our region has become sharper. We think it's better to navigate this period of change together, that to maintain sovereign choices, not just for us, but for all countries in the region, we need to work together. And that it's up to all of us to create the kind of region that we all aspire to. A free and open region that's inclusive and resilient, a region that's stable, prosperous and respectful of sovereignty, and a region where countries are free to make their own choices. We look forward to working with like-minded states to strengthen the multilateral system, to promote free, open, inclusive and resilient region, and to establish a prosperous life for our people. Thank you.